things that we need to hear, and then we want to open it up to the audience, so we have a different mic and a different speaker out there so we can get audience questions. Does that sound good so far? Yeah. All right, and if at any point you can't hear somebody, please let us know, obviously. We're also going to have sign language, some interpreters, and that's also what's happening. So before we even start, if we could give them a round of applause, please. The last thing I say before I kind of pass it over, we are recording from a couple different things, so obviously we want you to be talking, we want you engaged and excited, but there are cameras around, so hopefully we don't want to catch your conversation as much as we want to catch this one, so we can share it. But yeah, without further ado, I'm Andreas Opposite. I wear many hats. I'm the Vice President at the Rec Center here, the Vice President of Dow Housing Legal Aid, and I have a few different social enterprises, which we do a lot of work for personal, professional, development, so building communities and working with families. So without further ado, I'll pass it off. This is a joint partnership with Fitness Academy, Limitless Media Night, the East Preston Recreation Center, and the Rainmakers. So I'll pass it on.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Can you all hear me? I'm hearing feedback here, which is kind of scratchy, so I apologize in advance. But before we get started, can our candidates just please come up and grab a seat, and then we'll just get things started. So, the reason why I'm saying that is because I apologize, not read the names, so I don't want to work for anything. So, I'm just keeping it open and keeping it very casual. Okay. So first of all, I want to thank you all, to thank you all for coming out this evening to meet the candidates that are running for District 4 to be the councillor to represent the Preston Township. Some candidates we know and some we don't. So this is your opportunity for us to meet all on equal footing. So what I would like to do before I get into that, I'm going to have Andreas do the land acknowledgement.
Okay, so as we know, kind of mix it up. So obviously right now we're in the Preston Township, where we have some of the largest and the oldest all Black historically Indigenous African Nova Scotian communities. So part of the land acknowledgement, as we know, there's over 52 historical Indigenous African Nova Scotian communities. The boundaries have continued to change. So it's important that we recognize that Nova Scotia is a province that is full of melanin, both in the histories, both in the character, but it's important that we're seeing those things reflected in policy as well. When we think about land acknowledgement, it's recognizing the different communities that are around us, all the different communities, but then also paying heritage to that and figuring out what we can do with the duty of care and the platforms that we all have, right? We all have different privilege, right? Male privilege. If you're an athlete, you have certain privilege, depending on if you're able-bodied, you have privilege, right? So when we go through this journey, we have to figure out how can we use our privilege to help the people beside us and the people that come behind us. So we really want to challenge everyone to do that and honor the fact that we are also in Mi'kmaq, the ancestral territory of the Mi'kmaq people. So when you think about Nova Scotia as a province being reflected in politics, it's very important that we tie the acknowledgements not just in theory, but how do we tie that to action. So thank you all for being here. I'll pass it back over to you before we dive into the conversation.
Thank you. There's one mic over there in the far corner, so I think that's the one that we're going to be using to pass between the candidates. And I think the best way to do it that makes sense is we'll start on one end and finish one question, and then when we go into the next question, we'll flip it back and go the other direction so that everybody has an opportunity to speak into the mic. But what I wanted you all to do, so this is the first. So this will be your first thing. I would like you all to introduce yourselves and tell us what you know about our township. After your introduction, we're going to get into the meat and potatoes of the whole event here. But basically, what do you know about the Preston Township? Like, we want to know if you know us. Like, we're all meeting for the first time, except for a couple. We're all meeting for the first time, so we want to know what you know about us. So whoever has the mic first, they can go ahead.
Perfect. All right. My name is Jamie Alders. You want to tell them about myself, platform, and then Township, right? Okay, so I'm 46, lived in Coal Harbor for most of my life. I grew up in Forest Hills, Village. I'm really involved with water sports in the community. Just for me, my platform, I'm looking for a voice for the community. I just find we need someone who's going to step up and represent the people. That's what I'm here for. I know also Preston Township. The biggest takeaway I have is family is huge. History is huge. That's also all those big things. I've had some experiences over the years. I've lived in Coal Harbor. I've played basketball, I played hockey. In North Preston, I helped coach a team at East Preston. I have family members that are from the area as well. So, the important thing is to remember is there's a huge history here. It's important to recognize that. It's important to understand that the difficulties that happen in this community is different than in Coal Harbor or in Westfall. That there's different unique challenges. So, I think it's important to understand where everyone's coming from and what we can help. So, I think that's the important thing. People want their voices heard, and they want to make sure that their history is still there. And family is really important. That's one of the biggest things we've had. That's my knowledge. That's my knowledge.
Thank you. I'm Trish Purdy, so I'm the current councillor of District 4, was voted in 2020, and in the new electoral boundary change, the Preston Township and Little Salmon River community are coming into District 4 for 2024. Jamie gave his age. I do have to give my age too. I did just have a birthday. But I married to Ken, he's here. And we got 6 kids. There's 3 biological, 2 from Tanzania, 1 from South Korea. The 3 that are not biological started as international students, and 2 of them came to our family about 15 years ago, and then 1 came almost 9 years ago. And they have just become our children. And so we have a grandchild, 1 on the way, and we have a little, almost 2-year-old that's not a biological grandchild, but we look after her like she's ours, and we get her every weekend. So family life is very busy. What I know about Preston Township is you guys are the oldest historic Black community in Canada. I know that the government back in the day provided plots of land here, and there's still land title issues with your community because of the lack of proper bookkeeping and record keeping through the centuries. Your people are resilient. They are, I think, amazing. I go to New Beginnings Church, and the Black community has been so good to me through the years. We went 2014, 15, 16, and then back again. And definitely has something with your family connections and that, in my past has lacked. So I really appreciate that community spirit. I know that there's been historical issues with Halifax Water in this community, taking the lake. I understand there's been issues with even piping the clean water into the community. So just hearing about all these things throughout the years, it'll be interesting and good to get a better grasp of what the current issues are here and how you need the municipal government to come alongside and help. And platform. Do you want to do that later? Yeah, okay. So thank you. And it's good to be here.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for being here and taking your time this evening, because the sun is out here as well. And I want to thank the candidates for showing up as well, because I think it's important for us to do this at this time. I'm Nicole Johnson. I am the daughter of the village of the Preston Township, and many of you here know me. And for those of you who don't, I'm a hard worker. What I know about my community is that it is a historical Black community of 52 communities in total. We're farmers, we're business owners, we're also educators, we're also dedicated mothers and fathers who have grown up in this with long family ties to this community. We have our issues, we have transit issues, specifically routes, and the lack of. And we also have lack of representation continuously throughout each election every year. And according to them, we have a low percentage of numbers in voting. And I hope that this time we will do something to change that by getting out the vote. What I also know with the community is that we're related, and I'm very proud to carry the last name that serves names attached to this community. So thank you very much.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Joe Cawley, for those who don't know me. What I know of the Preston Township is basically my blood flows with the Preston Township because I'm 66 years of age, and I'm not afraid to give my age now. A lot of people probably stop. My father, I'd like to give you some history. My father's from East Preston. My mother's from North Preston. My grandmother, Mom Stu's, from Cherry Brook. And so over the years, I've seen our communities basically left out on many issues. And the reason why I'm here I want to express the concerns for the future of our communities. Not just Preston, including Cohera. I want to ensure that we're all treated with fairness. I want to ensure there's transparency. I want to ensure that nobody leaves the community behind. No areas within the district before. And if I can, if I have enough power to voice my opinion inside, I want to ensure the municipality itself will get left out. Because we have issues right now, a major issue, a crisis on homes, which is major, and crisis on people telling us they're going to do something for us, and years later it still looks the same. But what I know, like I said, what I know about Preston Township is I love my people. We are resilient. We've gone through trials and tribulations, and historically, I have ancestors who actually were political figures over the years. Matter of fact, I'd like to share that right now. Sir John Worth, our great-great-grandfather, was actually the Lieutenant Governor of Nova Scotia. And when I was a little boy, when I found out about that, I decided I want to get into politics. And I should have done it when I was working inside HRM. I had 25 plus years in the city, working finance department. So I know the budget restraints, and I know the budget restraints when it comes to council. Council's got to be extremely careful of what they say yes to, and they have to make sure they accommodate everybody. I will have more to say on whatever the questions are, and we'll leave it at that. Okay? Thank you.
Okay, perfect. So, as we ease I was going to say, we need to give them a round of applause. We know them. But no, I think the whole goal of this, right? So we want to have just a quick series of questions that we got them through, and then we want to turn it over to the audience because you are the constituents, you're the community, right? So we need to hear the voices. Just to kind of kick it off before we put you all in the hot seat, easing you in, trying to be nice. You're going to hear a lot of different thoughts. Some of them may be familiar, whether it's you've heard from other constituents or from canvassing. Some of the stuff might be different because there are distinct challenges that our communities face that others don't. But as we kind of ease into that, the first question that I want to ask, what can you commit to now, obviously without having all the answers, but what can you commit to now in terms of your stance on engaging with, what is your strategy in terms of engaging with the Preston Township and obviously the rest of the constituents in your district, but what is your stance, especially as you're going to be starting off? if you were to get elected, what would your stance be? We'll just work our way back.
Okay, my stance is starting off, I'd like to get elected. My plan for at least 2 times a year, in every area that has a ratepayer association or some type of a board in those communities, to show up and not just say, I know you guys have a meeting and I'll do what I can to get there. I'm going to guarantee I want to show up twice a year annually, so someone has to contact my office if I'm elected.
I guess mine's for me, because I live, work, and play in the district. And I'm also born and raised here from Preston and in Cole Harbor. To do what I've been doing is to continue to engage and continue to collaborate and partner with those who are able to also better enhance the community. Also see it forward with a future-focused intention to keep changing the face of Preston Township in terms of representation, in terms of pushing issues for the things that we need. We see that there's road construction in here. That's been a long time coming for the safety of our kids coming from the daycare to the rec center, or our seniors getting up for just for recreation or just to get on the walk. So public safety, that's the other thing, is just to continue to find ways to better enhance and improve upon that which the constituents have their pain points or the concerns that they have, so they can live day to day stress-free.
I am not going to pretend that I know this area as well as you do. There's no way in 20 years. So what I do is I engage. I figure out, I find out what the issues are. Somewhat prepared would be if I get in, I've got to meet with people. So, I'm going to start with the people that have been around the community the longest, the community leaders. They know they're the people's voice. So those are people I have to meet with, have to connect with. Obviously there's 5 or 6 different unique areas in our district. Each of those should have a voice. We should have some kind of coalition where we meet, maybe on a monthly basis where we talk within each area. Obviously as a counselor, your job is to voice the people's concerns in your district. That's your job. So if I don't understand the issues in each part of the district, then I can be your counselor. Right? So I have to meet with you, understand the areas. I know each Preston has different challenges that are Preston or Cherry or Ross Road, or everything's different. So a counselor needs to understand every part of the district, what are the things that they need. And if you pretend I know what they are, I won't do it. I'm going to lie to you, I'll be a straight shooter. I don't know, but I will ask you questions, but I don't know the answer. Right? And I'll figure it out for you. So that's what I'm going to do. But it's you got to talk to people. It's the only way you can figure out what the issues are. That's reality.
So in District 4, when I got elected, so I hold a town hall. So holding town halls I find very helpful because that's when residents can come and literally tell you the things that are ongoing issues that are not getting addressed. I held senior teas. I like doing things for seniors specifically because I think they ought to be honored. So that's a way to engage, and I bring a different set of to each tea. We'll have a different topic that's pertinent to seniors. The most popular one we did was scams, and we had the RCMP account to share how seniors can protect themselves from scams. And I also thought it was important because not everyone is going to pick up the phone and call or send an email. So a couple of years ago, I started going to Tim Hortons every month for a community drop-in. And I also did it at Opus for some time, and they were amazing. And I also did it at Selby's coffee shop at Cole Harbor Road, trying to hit the different parts of my district so that people could just know that I'm there and drop by for coffee, and that may have been the way they preferred to reach me and tell me their concerns, and then I go from there. And in the Preston community, you have ratepayers associations, so that would be important too, to connect with your community groups, because that's where issues are brought up, and that's what worked. It's worked in District 4. For
45 seconds.
I don't know if I said why or at the meeting. I hope to meet, like I said, twice a year to figure out the issues from each community throughout District 4. That's the reason why I say I meet twice a year with every different area-rated division.
Hi, I have a question for you all. I heard two things come up, transparency and safety. We've had an experience, with our current manager, transparency, I can't say was consistent. And with the construction that's currently going on, I think only people who were being affected on the road directly were notified, but it should have been something that the whole community should have been notified about, because at the end of the day, for people who are traveling back and forth to work that are going on number 7, they have to change their time in which they leave or just go late. So that's just one thing I want to just bring across, is that how can we expect you to address and keep things transparent? Like, what is the best communication flow so that it gets to the community, so that people are aware of what's going on? Because at the end of the day, we're in a partnership. It really doesn't mean anything to anybody if the other hand doesn't know if the left doesn't know what the right's doing, and someone's being impacted. So how is it that you're going to help navigate in the future issues like that? We know that the sidewalks are a great thing, but at the end of the day, we may even have a road closure, which is going to make half of the community go on Lineville Road and the other half go down, continue on to 107 because of the construction that's going on. So, I mean, I can say more, but I'm not. But anyways, I just want to understand how you guys, this issue that's come up, what's the best method in having to avoid issues like this in the future?
Maybe we'll start on this end, since you're going for re-election, so if I can repeat it. How would you be, what would your commitment to being transparent to community or to your constituents be? And how would you be accountable to, obviously, it's the digital age where not everybody has that ability to send you an email, or if folks are out in the Preston Township, until seeing you today, they might not know where you look or where your office is. And also even navigating construction to get to your office. There are a lot of different barriers that these communities that we experience to even getting in the door, to then ask questions that might be uncomfortable. So how would you, what would your stance be in terms of being transparent and being accountable to your constituents?
This is tricky for folks who don't use computers or have Facebook, because that is the way of communication that works for the most amount of people. So it does make things tricky. Now, for road closures and construction, there is like a policy of how who gets notified, and then the surrounding areas don't get notified. So that's where like Facebook groups come in handy. So as a counselor, what I do is share it on Facebook. I also on my newsletter. So again, it's online every month. Test. Okay. That's weird. Just shut up. Once or twice a year, we get to do an actual newsletter that gets into everyone's mailbox, like a paper one. But in the online newsletter that comes to people's emails, if you would like that to be on the monthly distribution list, I do a community corner section. So I'll write about different things in the community that are important and people are really concerned about, so they get the update every month of where we're at with each topic. And I found people have really appreciated that, because they might miss a Facebook post, or they might miss something, but at least in that one monthly newsletter, you'll get an update for that. And transparency, I mean, I'm a little too transparent. I probably say more than I should. That's just my nature, I guess. But I don't know. I think. Am I missing another question?
Being transparent, what's your thoughts on it?
Well, that's it, I guess. But there is a problem with getting communication out there for folks who are not, computer literate, or some people don't even have a computer or use Facebook or want to use email. So it is an issue. I will acknowledge that. Yeah.
Okay, so obviously, social media is a good way to get stuff out, but it's not going to get to everyone. And I mentioned earlier about, having community leaders, have coalitions where you work with people in the community that would be able to connect a lot easier than I'd be able to. Those are people you can talk to. So when you do social media, yes, it's going to get to some people. But if you have leaders in the community that have other ways to connect with people, that's a good way to share the message. So obviously that would be an important way to do that. Another thing I think about when you talk about accountability and transparency, I'm the president of Board Hockey. If anyone's ever dealt with hockey, parents are crazy. That's just the reality. There's a lot of crazy people that do things for kids in City Crosby, and it's not. So I've learned very quickly, I've been president for the last 5 years, you have to be transparent with people. If you're not, they will hang up the drug. That's the way it goes. So I've become a straight shooter. I don't get bothered easily. So if I have to tell someone this is the way it is, you know what? People respect that you're honest with them, but they don't want to use you just kind of pretend you know what you're talking about. People don't like that. So if you can give them straight answers, even if you can give them a reason why, they'll be more understanding. So I think that's the most important thing. Hey, yes, we are doing construction, but this is the reason we're doing it. And if people understand why we're doing it, it's a lot easier to accept what's happening, but also you need to give solutions as well. So if the road is shut down here, right, give people a heads up, hey, if you're coming home, it's going to be going on from 4 o'clock to 8 o'clock. So when you're coming home from work today, or if you plan to go to, to go to the gym or take your kids to dance or wherever it may be, you also can plan ahead of time, maybe an extra 20 minutes. So I think it's the important thing. Just be an open, let people know. And if you do make mistakes or don't be honest with stuff, people will call you out. I see it all the time. So the best way is just to let people in the system, let them know what's happening, and then just answer questions and go from there. So yeah, transparency. If you have a question for me, my phone or my email, everything's out there, so you can ask me any question you want, and I have no problem telling you the answer, whether it's good or bad. So.
Okay, so I guess for me, what I will also approach is, of course, social media for our young folks, but the old-fashioned way sometimes also still works by plugging into the community church bulletins. That works for some people. Also encouraging hand-delivered notes to doors, because people still like that. Newspaper clips, we have a gentleman here who is very excellent at getting information out. So connecting with the local social media channels, I do a show called Community Update. And part of that, what we're looking into do is to attach it to either the family resource social media page or the daycare social media page, so everybody's still getting it to some capacity. That show was created and existed to get information out there, to share information. As well as follow-up. I spoke to one of the community members a couple weeks ago, and we were talking about the water, the well system, like the well water and all of that great stuff. And she was a little disturbed, but she's like, I didn't know about the meeting, right? So encouraging people to come out to the meetings, sharing that, just being mindful. And have key people who are key communicators, those people who are intentional on getting information out there. Those people who are always showing up and knowing what's going on and getting them to tap into others so that they're also getting that information related to that. Communication is key. It's absolutely key, and if it's not trickled down, we lose people in the drift of that. So again, old-fashioned ways of getting things out there, and also, we have one idea that I had was to also have some of the young folks, giving them an incentive. They're put on their feet to get the information there, almost like a paper route, but it's a communication route. So finding ways creatively to get the information out there. And it's not on one person to do that, rather we go back to what we used to do and have a community calendar, maybe a community, what's the word, to get the communication out there, community communicator is what I'm trying to say. So again, finding different mediums that will actually work and effectively and to get the information out there. In terms of transparency, that is a key thing, have an open and honest conversation. Letting people know you can find out the information, ask the right questions, deliver that, and let them make a decision based on the truth. Let them decide for themselves, hold nothing back, but let them know. This is what I was able to find out. This is what I know. This is what was divulged to me. But this is what I was relayed to the person, and let them know that they can make their decision. But you don't have the information. You made wrong decisions, or you're not that informed to make the right decisions.
Alrighty. Transparency. We have to come all about transparency. I'm a spiritual person, and many people in this room know me. If I'm going to make sure I share something, it's going to be truth coming out of my mouth, for starters. But to communicate with the communities, I don't know if the program is still in place, but when I was a recreation coordinator, we used to use a program through the RCMP called City Watch. I don't know if they ever use it anymore, but we would need the phone numbers. We could sign up for it. And then, of course, it's privately thing also. But that's a tool that could be used if it's available. But also, those regular meetings I referred to twice a year or if something's coming up, it wouldn't be an issue with the media show up at an extra meeting if I had to in any of the areas within the constituent. They would show up there and let them know something's going on. If something that I can share publicly with the constituents, I will do it. If it's something that I'm not supposed to, because in council you can't just come up and say, share everything. That's the way council, because that's my experience working internally. Like I said, use whatever communication tools available. Some people don't have computers, so you need to use a phone system. Some people don't have access to all this electronic stuff, the phones and all that stuff. But you have to find some kind of way to use the old communication tools by talking to people and asking them to spread the word. Because it works wonders. It really does. It still works wonders. And because I'm sure some people here tonight came from Facebook page. Some people came from word of mouth. And I'm happy you all came up. Because you get to hear these people here. But like I said, the community, I will do everything in my power beyond those 2 meetings a year to make sure if something's going on, like the sidewalks or whatever it is up there they're doing. Or I'm going to be planting 10 trees by your house. I'm going to let you know in advance, run in advance. If I have to go on TV and make my own commercial, I'll do it. I'll do whatever it takes to make sure that the constituents know what's going on.
Okay, so we have kind of one, I guess I hear me in the back, hopefully. Okay, so we're going to kind of go into a lightning round, so a couple quick questions. They'll each answer a maximum 2 minutes on the answers. Then once we finish this round, then we're going to try to kick it over to the audience, and my brother's going to have to float with the microphone. So as we kick off this round, again, you're going to hear, I'm trying to tie together all the things. We're going to hear from folks questions, definitely questions about infrastructure, questions about the barriers, how would you advocate for things, right? We know that pretty much none of our communities have on or off ramps, right? Whereas other communities have the longest on and off ramps, all the way up the highway, or roundabouts. These are all things that are best practice, but for us, best practices, we don't get them. So when we're thinking about some of the things that we're going to hear, we know that we're in the midst of a lot of crises. And yet, at the provincial level or the federal level, there are things that they can do, but at the municipal level, there is a whole lot that actually can be done just like there are a lot of impacts. So when we think about municipally, a couple of things for the lightning round. We'll go just kind of each person will answer the question, and then we'll ask the next one. So for the first question, obviously we know accessibility and affordability are critical. But what is your stance, and how will you address the needs when we think about infrastructure, roads, building, as well as road and transportation?
Okay, the needs of infrastructure, like I said earlier, I would reach out to the community members to see what it is that they think they need in that particular community. If it's a road, I will go to the table and present that to them. If it's better transportation, I'll go to the table and present that. It all depends on what the constituents want. Because me going inside and saying, oh, this is what they need, is not me. I'm going to go inside and say, I'm me going to say that's not what I want the constituents to tell me what is the need and prioritize the most important thing that they need on the infrastructure tool. Transportation, whatever it is.
I guess for me, in terms of infrastructure, it's also staying within the warehouse and the responsibilities of how council is set up, how it works, understanding and also getting informative information as to what, in terms of what is really the critical points, the pain points that needs to be taken shape in terms of roads. We're in the middle of it right now. We're feeling the crunch of it right now. Like every morning, you've got the dust, you've got the interruptions, you have all that. But in terms of understanding what that looks like, it's just helping people through that on a daily basis. Whether it's just, encouraging them just to be patient and to, take note that in order for anything to happen, to evolve, it's going to take some infrastructure and building that and getting that up and running. We want things, but we also have to allow things to kind of take place and take form. But for me, I guess it's just staying in the roles and responsibilities of what municipality can do, but also developing allies and friendships with provincial and federal to better gain understanding as to all that we can speak to and deal with, so that we're not over-speaking, we're not misrepresenting, we're not saying we're doing anything that we don't want to do, but continue to press those issues for the communities with.
Okay, infrastructure. That is the number one issue that every person shares with me. That is number one, hands down, it's not even close. So, don't take offense to Trish, but I think current council needs a reset. Our roads are never set up for this population. We open up immigration at a level that was unprecedented. Our roads cannot handle it, and right now our priorities are not the right areas. Our roads need to be fixed now. Think about it, there's an $18,000 or 18,000 unit subdivision going across the road up here, right? Where's the traffic going to go? There's stuff being built off Shearwood and Corby Village. There's another development going on past there. I live on Colwell Road. Anyone drives on Colwell Road, that place is a busy street. And the road's been narrow, and it's a difficult to drive. It's tough to turn left. So I know that I understand the importance of fixing our roads. And I think right now, I know the current council, they are looking at long term, and I'll be honest, they want you to stop driving your cars. That's what they want. It's not realistic for our community. It's not going to work. So right now, we have to reset and say, stop putting money towards areas that are realistic for our community and prioritize fixing this stuff right now. Because our city's a mess. It really is. People know it. And we're frustrated with it. So that's, I think, where we need to focus on the infrastructure. Just take a step back, look where it needs to be fixed, get it fixed, because we can't handle the incoming population. It just won't work, right? So this is something big for me, and I didn't realize how big of an issue it was when I talked to people. And that is, like I said, number one by a mile. People hate sitting in traffic. Right, it's frustrating. So yeah, that's a huge. I think we need to reset it all. So.
Well, Jamie, thank you for that. That is the number one reason why I decided to reoffer, actually, because of the integrated mobility plan that council voted in 2017. It's the policy by which every street infrastructure is recapitalized. So street narrowing, which we're seeing bike lanes on major corridors, removing vehicle lanes. Jamie's right. The ideology is to get people out of their cars, but it's not working. We can't have a one-size-fits-all infrastructure plan for the municipality the size of HRM. We're the size of PEI. And our communities are very different. And I have been a vocal opponent of this for 4 years, but the council we have right now is in favor of the, they think integrated mobility plan is a good thing to be able to narrow the roads. I brought the design engineer who redid the major intersection of Cold Harbor Road, Cumberland, and Forest Hills Parkway. She removed 3 of the 4 right-hand slip lanes. And I brought it there and I said, look at this. We can't even get, 18-wheeler trucks to turn the corner. Cars are having to back up to make room. This stuff is insanity. We cannot, Jamie's right, we cannot continue this. That's one of the reasons why I am reoffering, because we're going to have some new people on council. We might have some fresh eyes to be able to look at this. We need amendments to some of the policies that council has voted in. And I have been an advocate for our community for 4 years. There's many times I'm the only one voting no on motions because I don't believe they're the right thing for our community. So I have a track record of doing this. I'm not just saying I'm going to. I have done it. And this is one of the big reasons why I am wanting to come back. And I have the 4 years of experience behind me. I know these policies, and they need to be amended. And we need sidewalk infrastructure. Do you know how many busy streets we have with people walking on the shoulders and there's not enough room? We need more money to be put into sidewalk infrastructures, less money on speed bumps. Although they do serve a purpose in certain areas, I think we've gone speed bump crazy. But we need sidewalks. That is the safest place for pedestrians to be. There's so I could go on and on, but this is one of my favorite topics to get frustrated about, because it's like banging your head against a brick wall. I don't know if any of you know that feeling, but that's the feeling. We need amendments. So I'm really hopeful for a new mayor, not to say anything. I love our mayor right now. We just have difference of opinion in some of these things with some of my colleagues. So looking forward to some fresh new looks on how we can plan for the future of our municipality.
Okay, so we're going to work back down the line, kind of the final round of the questioning before we go to the audience. Again, the same line of questioning, so you're still in the hot seat, and you can take some shots, but keep it kind. When we think about housing and affordability, right? Development is big, it's bright, sounds good. A lot of communities in District 4 are seeing a lot more development. We know that. In the Preston Township, development, especially when we think about policy and planning and zoning, has been very limited by design. So when we're thinking about the infrastructure that's growing, we're thinking about housing and the needs that are very real in the Preston Township, right? For it to be affordable for youth, for it to be affordable for elders in the community. I want to know what your stance are, or what your stance is in terms of making housing affordable. Obviously, we know, and anyone who owns a home has experience the taxes and the money that comes off of the property taxes, right? That comes off of the home has been the highest ever over the last 4 years, but I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know that folks have the feeling that with that higher spend in their district, they see that there's more work happening. So what is your stance for making things affordable, or looking at zoning and making sure that this district and Preston is at the forefront and is not left behind when we think about more money going out from taxpayers, but less money coming into the community? So what is your stance on that? What would you do if you're elected?
Well, so council, HRM doesn't have legislative authority to enable or dictate to developers how that they have to make any of their development affordable for anyone. We don't. Test. So one of the things that the province has given the municipality the ability to do is to to enforce bonus zoning with developers. So they pay money into this pot, and then the pot is used for grant money for nonprofits. But that right now is only the regional center of HRM, so a place like Preston Township or Coal Harbor, we don't have the ability to pull money out of the pot yet. There is a report coming back to council to look into that and to expand the programs that we can have more ability for affordable housing options in our suburban areas and rural areas, because affordable housing isn't just needed in the city center, it's needed everywhere. So that's one of the policy things that is in the works, and so we'll be very happy to have that come through. As for property taxes, we've seen a rise in everything, not just our taxes, but in our groceries and our gas. And I mean, there's so many reasons for that. The assessments have gone up on all of our houses. I mean, in 2020, we saw a real estate spike like we have never seen before, and houses doubled in price. We've never had this type of I don't think that's inflation, I guess. So that impacts everyone's assessment value, which is the base for the tax rate. And honestly, I am still learning about tax. I think I could probably learn for the rest of my life and still not, get to the bottom of this tax thing because it is so complex. But that's one of the things. Another thing is the introduction of the climate action tax. Our municipality introduced that in 2021, I believe. I was on council, and we were the only municipality at that time in Canada to do this. And I was against it. I voted against it because I don't believe in taxing our residents. It just further implicates the affordability issue. It makes everything more expensive. We've seen that with the federal government enacting the climate action tax. Our groceries, our gas, everything has gone up in price. And this affordability issue is impacting everyone. So these are just fundamental things that I am not in favor of. I just don't think taxing people is going to be the fix for anything. So I have voted against 2 budgets, property tax, and I've just been trying to, with my words, we can't keep doing this. It's unsustainable. So there are big changes needed. The whole overhaul of the whole budget. I mean, I agree with my colleagues. I mean, I think we're all feeling that we need some changes, and we need money to go into places that are actually going to make impacts in the community. So I think it's coming.
Okay, housing. Obviously, we have a serious issue with it, like Chris said, the cost of housing went up. It's tough for people to afford housing, which is obviously causing other issues. And like Chris said as well, it's complex. The housing issue is one of the most complex issues that we deal with. HRM has limitations. There's you need help from provincial, federal to make this work. Everyone knows we need housing. It needs to go somewhere. I know people are frustrated where it's going at times, but there has to be some give and take. What we have to understand though is if we had this housing, the infrastructure needs to catch up. These are 2 things that go hand in hand. So obviously there's a lot of red tape behind affordable housing developers. What's the incentive for developers to make houses that are affordable? They're trying to make money. I understand. Right? They run a business. And like I said, there's only so much impact we can have on developers. But this is where we can work with those who are government to work with developers to say, hey, if you're putting this subdivision in, we need you to do this, this, and this. For example, Ontario, I think it's if there were 500 units, whatever they be, whatever there's a number, if the developer puts in that many units, they are responsible to build a school or a fire department or upgrade infrastructure. There's requirements, and what they do, they put the cost back on the homeowners that are buying the new houses, right? So there's a program we can probably look at something like that on the line, on the road, that can help. Because obviously, I don't want to pay to upgrade that stuff if I'm not building that new house there. I've already paid taxes to support a school in Eastern Passage or support a school in Halifax. My taxes are going all over the place, so whether to see my taxes go back to my community. And you know what, taxes are a big issue. Nobody wants to see taxes go up. I'm a homeowner, the rest of you, it's an expense we hate paying. But if someone came to me and said, hey, your tax may go up, but look at the things we did to get that done. I think I'd be willing to say, if you can show me proof that stuff is completed because of my taxes, I would be able to stomach it. Right? I'd be able to look at it and say, okay, you got a road done, you put the sidewalk in front of my house, I had a new school in our district, my kids have so much because the sidewalk was cost of that work and efficient. I would be okay with a tax increase, but until we can show residents that we can actually do it and give you money, give you a bang for your buck, no one's going to want to do that. So we have to find ways to cut the red tape, get the affordable housing, and work with these developers and provide opportunities for our families. Because if not, people are going to move other communities, and what's going to happen next with their homeless issue. So I think last Wednesday we just had 1,300 homeless in HRM right now. It's a lot of people. I never thought that would happen in my lifetime, and now you see it getting worse. Okay, so that needs to be fixed. We need to address those problems now. But it will take a whole system to do it. It just won't be HRM. It's tough to do it all together. So that's what I'll be working, just trying to keep everyone home to task and make sure we have long-term goals and short-term goals to fix this issue.
For me, I'm not a homeowner, but my grandparents are, my aunties are, and many of you are. And I hear this every day about what needs to be done and how to move forward this. And this is a stressor for a lot of people, and mental health is attached to that. So trying to take a hard look at what the zonings are, the budgets are, all of that, to have an understanding of what that looks like for each of you. It's not an easy task, and I do agree with Jamie in terms of, working with the provincial government and all levels of government to make this a little bit better. It's not going to happen overnight. I think we know that because it took enough years to get here at this point to even have, some form of change. As well as, I think one of the things that I've been pondering on and thinking of as I'm listening to people at the doors and having conversations with people, for those people who have their homes and are paying on their homes for 50 plus years or 30 plus years, some incentive to give back because you've been paying your mortgage on time, you've been looking after your home. Those are things to kind of give an incentive to say, you're doing a good job, and we want you here. We want you to have homes and not lose your home or go through foreclosure. For those of us who are having young family members trying to come back into the community, they should be here as well. So it has to be affordable so that their babies and their children can be attached to their families, the land, the culture, them, right? We lose our identity every time we give up something. So I want to look into some kind of incentive for that because I think it's worth always giving people an opportunity to better themselves. And many of you guys have done an excellent job and with standing and resilience in terms of, I look at my grandmother right now and she has paid her home off, and that's a proud thing to aspire to. And so those are the things we want to keep doing. Those are the things we want to put in place and protect to make sure that our seniors and our upcoming families have homes in their own communities.
The housing issue, it is a major crisis, and one thing, there's a couple people who talk to me and they ask me, what do I think I could do to help seniors to stay in their home if I was constant? Well, it's a long road, but place it on the table. If we get to the body, the city deals with a non-profit company that does the assessment of everybody's properties. If we can get them to roll back the assessment amounts they put on everybody's home, your taxes will be lower. And that's property evaluation people. They set the tax rates. And I own a home. And when I saw my assessment go up again, I said, wow, we're just going to stop. And instead of thinking, but mine's going up. So are the seniors in our communities. Wait a minute here. So we need to speak with the government, the provincial, federal, and ask them something they can do to change the rules and regulations around the property evaluation people, tell them to roll back the assessment so the tax rates are lower. because that's what drives the tax rate if the assessment is done on the home. I want to take a major stance on the table. I will push that on the table to not to increase the tax rate. If I'm in there for 4 years, leave it alone and fix that assessment rate or the amount of money that they're increasing our homes. Because they're increasing our home based on the market evaluation of your home that you were to sell it. No, don't do that because they know you cannot compare the houses in our communities because they haven't ever and they're not going to start in the houses in town. They can't keep pushing their up and not give us the service covered for it. We need those services. You give us the higher assessment, you prove your point, you give me the services, and I'm more than willing to pay the taxes. Don't tell me I'm paying for sidewalks when I don't even have a patch of asphalt in my driveway. And I know the city money's coming from to grants from the federal government and from the tax collected from homeowners. And there's some such things as animal control. That's where the revenue's coming from the city. That's how they drive the budget to put the revenues in. But in one key thing, everybody can remember, if you lower my assessment, our taxes will be lower and the tax rate can stay still for the next 4 years.
Okay, so I think it's going to be time that we turn it over to the community questions. Obviously, I have no questions, but I'll talk. So, if you have a question, maybe you can put your hand up and we'll try to get this, get your mic over to you. So we'll get it over there and then you can discuss it.
Hold on. That's it? Okay, I got it. Good. I'm going to start back here so we work way out. Okay. Let me do it first. Yeah, it's your time.
Anyway, first of all, I want you guys to start off. A lot of stuff has been talked about. Infrastructure, what's going on in the community, things like that. In regards to homes and the value, starting with infrastructure and development what's going on here. We talked about getting out, like email and all that stuff. A lot of people don't. I won't say a lot. Some seniors do, they don't deal with that. What happened to Canada Post, right? And you drop all these flyers and people get a lot of pay. Drop it in the mail as they used to do. Okay, you got a lot of stuff, a lot of construction going on around here. And what I just know, from my understanding, it's supposed to be a trail. I think, me, myself, personally, I think a lot more than a trail going on here, right? Don't take no whole lot of pipe, put it in the ground for a trail. All this stuff is the whole community aware of this, and what is the cost going up for the community? Taxes going to go up, rest assured. And you got the seniors and said, own property, lot of property, they're very affording paying taxes now as it is. When all once it's all said and done, you got people who home right, left, center. I mean, of us spoke different times with regards to rezoning. Every time rezoning takes place, for the Preston area, community city is shrinking, and sooner or later, Preston will be nothing but native homes. So I'll give some of that money for now.
Does anybody want to speak to that or no?
Well, I can speculate on that because I know we've been working with our staff for a sidewalk in Cherrybrook, Lakeland area, and government is slow, but I've been told we're looking at a sidewalk in 3 years max there. But so the infrastructure that needs to go under these sidewalks because of the ditches, they need to put stormwater infrastructure under the pathways. And I think what's happening there is an active transportation pathway. So it's kind of a wider sidewalk, and it's a shared use sidewalk, so for bikes and scooters and walking. And so all of those big culverts that you see, they all have to be placed under for the stormwater drainage so that it doesn't create flooding issues. Because that's a big consideration when you're doing these infrastructure changes. So that's probably what it is, and because that's exactly what will need to happen in Cherry Brook, Lakewood, with those same big culverts put under where the ditches are right now to catch the stormwater.
On behalf of Mount Fresh, I want to thank you for your participation in Really Games Ministries, not only coming to church, but also being involved in the youth ministry, also in monks and prayer. And with regards to what the gentleman was saying there, shrinkage. We bought our house a number of years ago, and I'm in the San River Drive area. And what they did, if I fall anywhere, I'm going to press it. But somehow City Hall took us over the Preston. So you had mentioned something previously about San River Drive coming back into what, if you can explain what is happening there, because that is our concern. We don't know where we are.
So in this upcoming election, the boundaries have changed to include in District 4 the Little Santa River Road community and the Preston Township. So previously, the Preston Township and the Little Santa River community were in District 2. So those portions are going to be included in District 4. So District 4's boundaries are expanding to include those communities.
Okay, Trish, I have a question for you on stormwater drainage. I have been out to you at least 6 to 10 times to get the ditch in front of my house cleaned. I have a forest at the end of my ditch. I can't see back into my yard.
Yes.
And HRM is not collecting stormwater money. I want to know when you guys are going to get up the schneid and actually do your jobs.
So Halifax Water, I've reached out to them and our HRM for your ditches. Each time, they don't clean out ditches for vegetation because they say that it doesn't impede the flow of water and it actually helps to kind of catch the debris from the water to keep it from blocking the culverts. And they also they also say that ditches are the responsibility of some homeowners, and it's not the same everywhere across HRM. It depends on the location.
It's like when it's very work problem. It's not any Preston. You know, when it's Preston. But I'm sorry, but my ditch is full of, as I said, there are trees in my ditch.
I know, and I sent that to them. I sent them the pictures, I sent them everything.
That person's tree going to my ditch. I did. The ducks can't even live there anymore because there's nothing there but grass. Now, they cleaned my ditch before.
And this is one of the frustrations that people say.
You want to collect my money? Then do the job.
Yes, absolutely. So, the Halifax Water, HRM ditches, it is, quite honestly, it's a mystery, but that has been a repeat ask.
It's a tax rate. That's what it is, it's a tax rate. Very simple. It is a tax rate.
I have a couple of things I want to point to. First of all, I appreciate this roundtable this evening. For the first time, we, and I say we, I mean my community, gets to vote in the same district with East and North Preston. For the longest time, we have been, and I say because I'm from Lakewood, Cherry Brook, have been voting with Old Harbor. Now, what I have found, even though we don't really associate much with Old Harbor because we consider ourselves part of Preston Township. And I've lived in that Preston Township for over 60 years. I'm very concerned about the infrastructure that does not happen in the African Nova Scotian community. I pay taxes, and by the way, what I did with my taxes, and I've been in my home for a number of years, is have a cap. And they say that when you cap it, that would allow them, the assessment, to go up further. But the assessment still goes up, even though I haven't capped my property. I'm paying taxes so high, but I still don't have a sidewalk in front of my home. I don't have, as my neighbor just said, my ditch is cleaned out, nothing. I have been in that area longer than Forest Hills, Cold Harbor, or any of those other places. We have been in the African Nova Scotian communities out here for years, but yet no infrastructure has ever happened, but our taxes continue to go up. Now, I don't want to make a race thing, but I have to say, we need infrastructure. Now, I've heard the councilor say that we are online for sidewalks in the next 3 years. So how many of our kids have to be hit by cars before we get the sidewalks that we've been asking for the last 10 years? You know, I had a nephew in office, and he doesn't move that far from the bus stop, and he hit by a car before he got to his house. You know, we cannot allow our children to be put at risk because the state has put us on a list. That's unacceptable. Now, I don't know what you intend to do about that, but I want those people who are vying for the position of counselor to really put that on the table and say that our children here are at risk because there are traffic moving up and down the highways. We have no sidewalks. We have no guardrails for our children who have to take the school bus to go to school. So that's number one. Number two is, even though I lived in that area, by the way, I started out in the country, then I was suburb, now I'm in the city pretty much. Never moved. So, I was still in the same spot. But what did move was my tax bill. And that is outrageous. Even though I capped my property, I don't see a thing for the amount of money that I'm putting out every 6 months. I don't have sidewalks past my house, but the traffic zooms up and down past my street. I don't have, any kind of, what's that? Sewer, no, we don't have, but I pay for stormwater, I pay for all these things, not on my taxes, but also on the HRM bill, the Halifax water bill. They're collecting, they say, for the city. And there's a whole bunch of money going there, but I don't see no movement in my area. And that is what I say is unacceptable. However, I went to school at Sarah Ford. I went to school at Grand Craven. When I used to go to school from my home down to Sarah Ford, we used to have to go along the way because there was no Forest Hills Parkway. Those things were not there, but when I drive there now, they've got the things that we've been paying for the last 50 to 60 years. We've been paying for that area, and here they are up there with things that we don't have. And I take offense to that. And we have not had the proper application at the city council that looks at us and says, these people are historical in terms of being there. And that we need to look after the people who have been steady, giving money to HRM for over 80 to 100 years. You know, since the tax base started. Now, if you're going to go in there and not advocate for us, I have a problem with that. You've got to go into the city council and advocate. I know that policies happen, but unless your voice is there at the table, looking after the Preston Township, I can't give you my vote. And if you want my vote, you need to understand that we need to have your voice speaking for us. And I understand that, we talk a lot about, what's good and the policy, but you gotta have a voice in that policy. And you gotta talk to us and let us know what's going on so that we can advise and direct as to what our needs are. Thank you.
Exactly why we need it in this forum is if you want to represent us, you need to understand us. We have a lot of frustrations and anything that's been going on for 30 plus years in the community, things that have been promised, but nothing has ever been done.
Yeah, still, if you have a question, because we're kind of final period, just maybe keep your hand up or work towards a little bit closer towards the mic. I know you ain't trying to move.
Yeah. I know that there's a lot to unfold here. For the very first time we had this town hall meeting with the new councilors and all that. And we've been here before. And I'm going to give you two little small spiritual lessons because the scripture says before a man can look after the house of God, he needs to take care of his own little household first. There's another scripture that says when Jesus talked to the tax collector, man of the tax collector, he said, ask for no more than you need. But the need turned into greed. Now, to tell you that, Preston has always been on the back burner when it comes to getting things done. Our federal government didn't have a vision for the country. They overpopulated our country. Now our province is overpopulated. We don't have housing for Nova Scotians because so many of them are living in tents. Broken promises, no more. See, because you gotta have a backbone. Whether which of you vote for you as individuals or we vote for the party. If you represent the party, then you can't represent the people. Because the party got to do what the people want in order to get results. So all the candidates here tonight, when we talk about taxes and infrastructure and all that, here we are now in a time where prices have gone through the roof in every area. But now they're trying to put the things in the community that the community was asking for years ago when the cost was down. So all of a sudden now you're going to make these great promises that you're going to try to do this, and you couldn't do it when the prices were down. And I'm not talking individually, because our government is what controls our province and our country. And if the people from Rossville, East Preston, Cherry Brook, North Preston, Lake Acres, New Miners, not New Miners, but yes, do not come together as a community. Right after the money. Anyway, but mind you, yeah, thank you. Anyway, this is what the community, it's not just the Preston Township, it's the community, the problem in these areas. And we lack leadership. Because leadership only thinks about when they get into a position to do what's good for them. Guaranteed, we've been here before, like I said, we heard lots of broken promises and nothing ever gets done. So I vote for the best candidate based on how you're going to stand against your party to get some results.
Hello, candidates. I have a question for all four, and we're going to talk about the transparency again. So, if something was brought to council, and you're sitting at the table, and if it didn't go through, it didn't get passed, how and do you plan on bringing that back to the community?
Well, if something is brought to the table at council and it's something the constituents is hoping to get results on, the goal is, if it's not passed, I'm gonna have to do what I do best. I call the ratepayers, call a meeting, that will tell them up front. Or, whatever communication tool I said earlier, whatever communication tool that we can use, I'm gonna try to use a tool to let them know ahead of the pass. But as it passed, the same thing. I'm gonna do the same thing. I want to share the information, and once I put me, I have a backbone. I go over there and prioritize the things that the constituents take to put that to the top, and we're going to the bottom. That's the 6 items we're trying to put through. But if they tell me no, I'll come back and I'll tell you the best way I can. If I have to go through the door and tell people they told me no again, or they told me yes. That's all I can say.
Yes, okay, again, it's about collecting information and sharing information. Key communicators have been filtered out. And I guess it depends on what information is being shared at that time and what needs to be said. There is no withholding information from the community that is shared, and then let the community come together to speak on it and to share the voice and take the voice back.
So anytime learners are voting on council, it's usually at the Tuesday meeting, so you can watch it live, you can see when things are happening, when the votes are on. So obviously going into a meeting, if there's something you're discussing and something's affecting the area, you should let the area know, hey, this meeting is coming up. You're going to see how the whole council is going to vote on this. So they can see what you're doing, what you're voting, what your stance is. And you can see if your councilor is actually listening to you and saying what you want them to say. So you can see that you can watch it happen live, right? I'll just say really quick. City staff runs this city. They take control, council, so we're somebody's going to step in and say, listen, we have to start questioning why if my whole community is telling me they want this, and this specialized person's telling me the opposite, there's something wrong there. I shouldn't be accepting that. So we need to take accountability for that for city staff, right? So that's like I said, you have to communicate. So how do we get it done, right?
Yep, ditto. That's basically what they said. Yeah, and it would depend what it was and how the information would be disseminated back to the communities. But basically, everything that they said.
I think a question in the back.
Hello, everyone. So my question, I know we talked about housing already, but I didn't hear any of your actual strategies to address the housing issue. I heard you talk about how we have an issue, but I would like to know what are your strategies moving forward to combat some of the issues that we all know that we have. And also, if the city proposes to put an encampment into our district, into our community, what is your stance on that?
Well, so housing really is a provincial jurisdiction. The city, we don't have legislation, we don't have a housing board, we don't have a housing department. So I did speak to some of the things that council has done to try to get more affordable housing options to other parts of our city other than the urban core. Still much more work to do, obviously. We do have an encampment proposed site in District 4. It was part of the 9 proposed sites that staff brought to council earlier this summer, and it's the Bissett Road old rehab plans. And community reacted very negatively to that for many reasons. Number one, where that area is outside of the transit boundary. There's no transit that hits that area. There's no amenities, there's no stores, there's no services. It's basically just out in the middle of nowhere. And also, we've just gone through several years of community engagement for a park, a regional park setting for that. So I brought a motion of rescission to council to remove the Bissett Road encampment from the potential list of encampment sites. And it would cost taxpayers anywhere from $1 to $2 million to stand up this site to provide wraparound services and 24/7 security. It is very expensive, and we would need some sort of shuttle service. So that motion of rescission failed. We had 5 votes for, 9 votes against, and so that's what we've done. I've met with our MLAs, I've met with all of our municipal staff up to the greatest level. So we will see what happens, but that was the one area in District 4 that was on the list of potential. It's as a secondary site, but it would be very expensive. And the group of folks that the province and the municipality put together, the lived experience group, no one had any desire to go to Bissett Road. It's just too far from the services and the amenities. So that's what happened.
Yeah, I mentioned earlier with the housing, like Chris said, there's a lot of stuff goes provincial, but my question is, why do we stop there? You know, we just always pass the buck to this provincial, but we need to do a better job of connecting with them. And like someone talked about earlier, your party, I go for each any party, right? I'm nonpartisan. I don't want to deal with anyone that is just pushing their party, because that's not going to help the whole council, not going to help everyone overall. So, you know, if we can't work with the provincial government and federal to help with the housing, they're going to be in trouble. So district communication goes all 3 levels. And I also said before, they've got to get rid of this with the red tape. And then this housing will tie into your question about the encampment. So I don't know why we're settling on encampments. Why is that our mandate? Why is that our backup plan? Why are we not doing a better job getting people back into housing? I read an article today. And it was about the city spent $7.5 million on 200 pallet homes, right? They said they're going to be ready by the winter time. So now we are a year later, only 80 of those homes are actually in place. So 120 aren't even there. So I think that's millions of dollars that was spent. Not even half of them done, right? So those places there, they can be used, they can be taken up in the campus, right? We shouldn't even need that. So the party has to put up those things, and the red tape that's kind of making it difficult to build those should be taken off. If this is really a priority for us, we need to purchase red tape. It has to get done. So for me, I don't think we should have
raises.
So sorry.
Raises for their pockets, that's where the money's going.
Yeah. I agree. Right? We just need to stop settling for Band-Aids. It won't solve our long-term problem. Right? And that's just that situation. $7.5 million. Oh, we'll be ready by Christmas or by winter. And now it's a year later, we've half it done. Right? So something's not right there. Those are homes that people hit. Right? So there's the issue right there that's been resolved. So.
I have a few questions that I want to ask, and some of the questions have been asked, and obviously I haven't commented on, but I want to ask Jamie.
Finish the question. Did they have an opportunity to finish?
I'm sorry.
As it pertains to Preston, we're not far, but not sitting on top of Bissett Road. But as it pertains to Preston, we have to look at the blueprints to our housing that it pertains to us and our affordability. And I think that's where we begin looking at those blueprints and what's in place and what's not. And again, it is a provincial responsibility, but again, it's the reason why we should not also be sitting at those tables having conversations and understanding how we can continue to hire and filter that through. So sharing the shared responsibility to what that looks like, particularly for Preston.
Okay, and how Jamie mentioned something there, the word Band-Aid. I did a response to a documentation that came to me out of 50 of them, they keep coming. But anyway, and I responded on the height of housing prices, which is serious. I would like, if I was going to get elected, I would love to collaborate with both government levels, provincial and federal, and talk to them and say, listen here, we have a crisis going on here. All propaganda, particularly here, that do not continue to fix these encampments with Band-Aids effect. Because remember, we Band-Aid is going to bleed. Remember what I mean by that is, one more encampment, you'll create another one, then you'll find somewhere else with another one. I'd like to see that, I got rumors that there's a plan on spending $80 million on electric buses that we're not sure it's gonna work. Wait a minute here. This is how I roll. This is from a constituent that I visit when I go to do my canvassing. $88 on buses? Really? What about the price of bringing in with the homes? Build the houses first and buses up later until we clean up and get people out of these encampments. And also, I would actually like for myself and some other people come along and find out how do they get from their homes to encampments. How do they get there? There's mental health issues here. There's veterans out there because, there's issues that people are overlooking. I would like to see the encampments all gone.
Yeah.
Who's going to come up? Anyway, like I said, I would love to see the encampments gone and the houses built a little sooner because I heard that article this morning on the radio. I said, wow. 80 houses, worse. When are you going to finish the other 120? You need to get them done. There's service fees and it's charged for the non-profit housing for building units, trying to get new and massive service fees. Right now, they need to decrease those service fees and get rid of them until we get these houses built. But so when I'm inside, if I get elected, they're going to hear my voice. I'm going to speak for everybody across this whole district and surrounding municipality. We need encampments. We don't need people back in houses for safety reasons. We should not have to have security 24 hours a day looking after people when they should have a roof for their heads. The seniors are out there. You guys probably know because people that say the seniors are in this encampment because people forgot about them. They should never ever lose their homes because of taxes or because they were renting somewhere where it got too expensive. We have to do something. When I say we, are referring to our government bodies, federal and provincial.
Okay, back over to the audience. I think we have one person in the middle. Then Ian, I don't know where you are, but you need to just move next to this mic, or else you'll keep getting pushed. Right next to the mic.
Yeah.
Don't breathe on the neck or anything. We're close.
Okay, I got a couple of questions I wanted to ask or elaborate on. Since we're on housing, I'll speak to housing. The county has taken enough land from the communities and the Preston Township. We have the land. Start building some low rental housing rented to people that will eventually own these homes. We have the land. Give us back what you stole from us and put some houses on. And that could be a start if you would try to look and see what you could do about that. And making decisions, I know you said, you talked about how you would communicate. But when you communicate with us, don't come back to us after the final decisions are made and tell us and call a meeting the day before. That's what's been happening. Everything that comes like, we don't have any sense in this community that we can't talk for ourselves. Don't make decisions on our behalf and then finalize them and come back and tell us when we can't have any input to change things. So think about that. It's just something to think about. And the other thing, we're paying extra taxes for gutters and whatnot. If you walk through the community of East Preston, the little bit of shoulders of the road that we had is grown up in weeds and trees. Yeah. We don't even have a shoulder of the road to walk on, and gutters is purple. Now, on both sides of the road, my husband took care of our gutters and he put little flats there. And now that's being torn up, and all that stuff is being tapered up. How about that little later? But we need to do something about our road, shoulders of our road, and about our gutters. And for our housing and communication is a must. The Preston Township needs some attention, and the seniors need some attention. They see that seniors grants out there for seniors. I'm a senior. I pay my taxes on time. I have a credit on my taxes. I have an inside chairlift to go upstairs, and I am trying to get a wheelchair ramp outside. And because I said to the man that came to me, it would be great because when my grandson comes, he's in a wheelchair, and he could get in the house without them carrying him. What did the fellow do? Go back and tell him that I was wanting a wheel ramp for my grandson that didn't live there, and I was turned down. But anyway, that's what you gotta live with. And yet they want to keep seniors in their home. But however, now, getting to this work that's being done down where we live at, that's another thing that came after the fact. We should have been approached before a decision was made to put any sidewalks on our street. In front of my driveway, there's 3 driveways, which is blind driveways. That's a dangerous section of the highway. And why would you put a sidewalk there for children to walk from the daycare center to the recreation center when the daycare center has 2 vans? And being the founding person of the daycare center, when we wanted to bring those children up here, we drove those children up there. And as I said, there was 2 people who got killed right in front of my house. It's dangerous. And right now, this is what I'm going through. I'm living in misery. I came here tonight with a real headache because of the drilling. My driveway is blocked. Traffic's on both sides of me, even a long weekend. Traffic's on both sides. I can't see to get out of my driveway. I had to walk to my neighbors tonight to get a drive up here. It's dangerous. It's a dangerous piece of a highway, and this is what we're pulling with. I'm suffering from severe dust. I had to take all my furniture off of my patio, and now I gotta pay somebody to clean up the dust. I have early mornings appointments. I was told if I did, I had to leave my car out one morning, overnight in my neighbors so that I could get up in the morning because they're gonna tear up my driveway. There's an electric pole that's right in the middle of the sidewalk, and I was told it's gonna leave it there. What do you want a sidewalk with an electric pole in the middle of the sidewalk? It don't make sense. If you're gonna give us something, do it right. And that's what I'm going to say. But what I'm saying is, why should I have to live in misery for something that we didn't ask for in the first place? A few people got together and asked for something and it was approved. And I don't think it's right. The whole community should have known this before it started. We're paying tax for it, and we should get what we want, and I shouldn't have to live in misery for a few people.
So before we go to this next question, I think it just set up to the candidates. The stories that we're hearing are consistent across the board in our communities. This is not just one person's experience. This is the community's experience, and it's not just over the last couple months with this construction. Our community is put at the back, and when problems come up that other communities are able to advocate for, when we raise these concerns, we'll get to it, or there's red tape, right? So these are the norms, and as we hear these kind of things, that's why it's important for us also to take the notes so we can bring it to the table, because you might not be competing against your party, but you're competing against the council's interests in the budget, and our district does not get the fair share of those tax dollars, which is what's being said. So, Ian, you warmed up your voice, hopefully.
Listen, you know my father was always stay warm. First of all, I want to thank you guys for running. It takes a lot. We have a lot of voices, and this is just a portion of what you have.
This is say with the chest.
You good? Thank you guys for running. Okay, it takes a lot to do this. You guys have a small percentage of the community here from this area and extended. Okay? Jamie, I'm going to pick on you for a second. You said that the council runs it. And what we as a people want to know that they run it, but our voice is going to be heard through you, or through Trish, or through Nicole, or through Joe. We're voting for you. So we need to know that our voice is going to be heard, all of us together, because we all have needs. You guys already said that. Now, I'm going to talk about the Coal Harbor Road. They tore the road out. That road, I live in Coal Harbor, didn't really need to be done. Sheridan Brook needs a sidewalk. Okay? North Preston has a piece of sidewalk. East Preston is getting a little bit more of a sidewalk. But if you walk down Coal Harbor Road, down Portland Street, you can get into Dartmouth through the sidewalk. Why can't our sidewalks all connect? Okay, the walking trail that I was told before my father passed away was supposed to go in through down by the mill into Cherry Brook, so our communities can connect. Supposed to come through the back road so our communities connect. It hasn't happened yet. They haven't been gone since 2017. Aside from that, you guys talked about the amenities in Coal Harbor, the amenities in West Walsh. We have land. We have no amenities. And we have seniors. We have people who don't drive, who go up and down these roads in the winter, and I don't know if you guys paid attention, but the roads in town are a little bit wider than the roads up here. So when you're driving on these roads in the wintertime, you've got to be cautious when you're driving. Why do we have to go so far to get a loaf of bread or, of course, some milk? We have the space, we have the land. Put the money back into our communities, open up the land so we can put stores here, so we can give jobs back. You want to talk about affordable housing? We have lots of land. Let's put some affordable housing up here so people can live in the houses here. We don't need to go traveling and pay $2,400 a month for rent when we can have our land up here. So I just think we as a community need to utilize the resources we have instead of it always being taken away. So I'm asking you, whoever wins, you have a lot of voices, and you have a lot of voices that aren't here. You have a lot of stakeholders who are in this room and the ones that can't be here. These are the voices you need to be heard. These are the voices you need to speak for. So I'm asking you, can we get your support and not the lip service?
As I said earlier about myself, I most definitely would like to collect the information from the constituents and go inside and represent the constituents and not represent myself. Like I've been saying that from door to door, everywhere I've been going. I'm not running this election for me. I'm running this election because I see what Ian's talking about. I witness it every day myself. We have those sidewalks in front of our house, and I can attest. My daughter got hit by a car also, and she was walking home from school, off the school bus, on the right side of the road of our house. 2 minutes away from the bus stop, she got hit. And we're still mentally feeling it. So that's, and then somebody put sidewalks, and back to the trails. I looked at the trail, with Ian just looked at the trail, I was told the same thing, I heard the same thing as a community member. When I drove to one particular community, the trail is there, I can't believe it, they got more trees in the trail than rocks. That should not be. The curb, the gutters, the trees, the gutters. I could probably dig them out and service every nursery in Canada. There's so many trees in there. And upstairs, they used to put those drains at least twice a year. I don't know what happened. The equipment's there, and I don't like the idea of hearing excuses from, oh, it's the water commission, it's the city, it's the water commission. And if you don't know who it is, call me back, let me know who's doing it, I'll contact it myself. Especially if our constituents, members that look for an answer, I want to be sure I get that answer, and then I can provide feedback to the constituency. If I'm elected, I will use my backbone and use it every day.
I really feel that we're here to hear from you guys, and I'm not sitting in the seat. We're running for their seat. So I'd rather hear from you guys. Yes, we have no problems. I do this in my job every day, advocating, and I don't have a problem having a voice for all you, but I have to hear the voice and understand what the pain points are. So I'm really here to listen to you guys.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. We need to hear what you're saying. But you need someone, like you said, you need someone who's going to stand up and be your advocate. It just has to happen. And if you can't trust someone to do that, else you're not going to vote for them. So you have to trust that people are going to do what you ask, and at least be transparent to you guys. You guys talked before, that's exactly what has to happen. Last year I wrote that, when you're on council, I've heard this, and Trish, you've probably learned a lot, you can't get anything done unless the rest of the council is on board with you. So you need somebody who is able to get the audience, who wants to talk to the people who cooperate and get the rest of the council on board with you to get stuff done in your area. So you don't just need someone who's going to be your advocate. You need someone who's going to convince other people on council to help you. You cannot get anything done without that. So that's very important. If you can't get someone who can do that, you will not get help. That's the reality. You need someone who can advocate and with the rest of the council, right? That's what I do. So.
Yep, he's absolutely right.
audience.
Yeah, most of the, is this on? Most of the questions that I had, have already been answered, but this is mainly a suggestion. All the information and all the conversation I'm hearing tonight, I never heard one thing about our youth, our young people, and the fact that, they seem to get forgotten, and they have a vote, right? They have a vote as well as everybody else, seniors, people in the middle. I mean, I'm 61 years old, so I'm speaking for the youth because they get left out a lot. So, my suggestion for you would be to do this for the youth and get them, not anybody here. We're of that particular age, and that's fine, not to exclude us, but the youth is the future, and I just think that you should do this and invite from, say voting age, up to, say, age 35 to 40, and get them to come out to let you know what they would like to see in their counselors, in their people that are going to be represented, because we're not going to live forever. So the youth is definitely the future, and there's not a lot of them here tonight, and you should really look at that and ask why, because they lost faith in what politicians or counselors, whatever, can do for them and do for their community. And I just think for the future that if you're looking for votes, you actually should come and listen to the people that are putting you in office, which includes the young people. Okay, thank you.
So she kind of just said what I was actually just about to say. I'm kind of standing in the gap for the younger generation. I am a young person in the community. So just to kind of piggyback on what a lot of the older generation has mentioned about like the sidewalks and stuff, I'm for a safe and more accessible community. So to me, the sidewalks is a must. Like I shouldn't have to walk on the road with my kids and my son and my niece and my nephew and have to squirt over when a car comes flying by. Like that to me is dangerous. I'm getting up at like 5 o'clock in the morning to walk the number 7 highway because it's not safe in my own community, and that's a big problem for me. I remember last year I was ready to get the police and everything to shut down the road before they put down the sidewalks because they were zooming past the daycare and they didn't see a need to reduce the speed limit. So like issues of being brought to the table and nothing's being done, like that's where you lose hope and that's where you lose like all the false promises. So I want to say that for when it comes to things like that, you guys, I hope that there's some strategy that you guys have in place to engage the youth, the young generation, the in between, because yes, while these are everyone's trailblazers, we are the next generation that are coming up. And also I wanted to touch on too, I think somebody mentioned about like the taxes and stuff, like that's an issue for me as well. Me and my sister, like we own a home, but I'm thinking about what that looks like in years to come when that gets higher. Like it makes me nervous to think of people not being able to stay in our community and the people coming in and gentrifying the community to the point where it's too expensive to even live in our own community. That makes me nervous. So I just want to know what you all are thinking or planning to do in terms of that to keep those things down or at a low cost for people like us that want to stay in our community, want to raise their kids in the community, and be able for them to grow up in their own community as well.
Oh, okay. All right, I'll do my best to keep mine brief, and it will be an actual question, because I think hearing from you guys, as much as it's important to hear from us, I think the fact is we're going to be voting for you guys, so it is important to hear from you guys as well in terms of what you plan to do on certain things. So, we talked a lot about the need for housing. We talked about, it was just mentioned about our youth. One of my biggest concerns is that, not only have we lost land over the years, right, but we've lost access to our own land. So one of the things that's really happening is we've been landlocked. So we talk about our young people, but a lot of our young people are being forced to move out of the community because what's happened over the years, they've made it so difficult to use your own land.
people talk about paying taxes. We're paying the taxes for, we have one house on large parcels of land that we can't use. They've made it so expensive to use your own land. If you want to actually put in a private road or something so that you can actually have family members be able to build, use acreage on your own property, they've made it so expensive. And you know what? The crazy part is, it was purposeful, right? Because they're charging you for that large plot of land. They're charging you taxes for it when you can only use a small portion for people to build on. So a lot of us, I can speak for myself. My oldest daughter, we've got family that had to move out of the community because couldn't afford. I can't afford to put in the roads the way they want them built, and they're not helping. They're not coming and saying, you know what, with this new plan, that we're going to actually help you put in access roads. You want to talk about, yeah, so you want to build shelter houses, great. But in our own communities, for our own kids, for our own families, we can't access our own land. So what I want to know from you, what's the plan to help with the land lot prices that we have in our communities so that we can actually look at the idea of having our people stay in our communities?
Yeah, okay, so that's exactly what you mentioned. You're talking about subdivision of lands and that, so that's coming because right now with the regional plan, the suburban area and like the provincial government we're kind of in unprecedented times right now. The provincial government's never done this before in Nova Scotia. And even in Canada, really, I think we see this in Ontario a little bit, taking over planning from the city. So they have mandated certain regulations to make development easier in HRM, and I think we're going to be seeing the policies in that type of situation to make it easier and less expensive for folks to do that type of small. In the suburban, the suburban regional plan review it's going through right now. The Minister of Housing and Municipalities, John Lore, he wants this to be released January 25th, but staff have said that's probably not going to happen, so we're looking at probably summer that this is going to happen. So I believe we're going to be seeing some policy changes that will help in your situation, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. I think it's very needed.
So if that's coming down the drain, then obviously that's probably going to help. I don't know a lot about this, to be honest. So if that's a program coming down, it's going to help. Obviously, whoever gets in has to make sure it actually gets done, right? So I know you just
because it's saying you definitely have to make sure it gets done.
Exactly, that's your job. And I know what you said, staff. There's that staff word again, right? Like staff saying it's not going to be done, well, why not? Right? So we have to be navigating so stuff to make sure it gets done. Because obviously, that's a big concern in this area, right? So we have to push this guy and say, why can't it be done before this period of time? Why are we waiting to your recommendation? Let's push it over there. So, yeah, whoever gets in, that's obviously has to be something you have to do, right? Make sure it gets done, right? Obviously, they're looking into it, it's important. But saying something and doing something two different things, right? So.
Darren, thank you for sharing that. In regards to protecting what we have, with what we have, I guess it's sort of finding out who's actually in there that we can actually trust, because sometimes they can collect information and then turn it for their own advantage. So I would rather, put the efforts in finding what's there, what's in place, and what we actually can bring back and share without putting the rest of Preston's land at risk or the homeowners at risk. So I just need to know, I'm not in the seat. So once if elected in there, I just want to make sure that I know who I can trust with our information, because we've already been robbed, lost, and stolen.
Yeah, on the issue about the Councilor Trish, she just mentioned that there's a plan that's going through. To make it a success, that has to be followed up. If I'm in the seat, I'm going to follow up based on the information she just provided. And these lands that I'm in the same thing of it. Like I want to do something on mine even. and I know the permit process, the bottleneck in the permit department. I don't know why it's taking so long, because I'm hearing it continuously. I hear from people down in the Conway area. I went to a meeting, and someone told me it took them 3 years, and they still don't have a permit to build on their own land. So there's something wrong with that. So if this plan is put in place with this regional plan, and someone said yes, we're going to do it. If I'm saying this, I have to push it. If any one of us here witness it, we have to really push it, ensure that happens, and not just people talking about something. Don't lip service, not, we don't need that. And I'm willing, like I said, I'm a person with a backbone. I'm going to fight and ask. They will get sick out of hearing me ask the same question. Get it done, get it done, get it done.
Testing 1, 2, 3. My turn, I guess. Okay, I'm just going to backtrack a bit. With regards to distress, you mentioned development. Is that like coming about? Is that going to be for developers coming in the community and developing, or like Dr. Ross mentioned, there's a lot of land in the community. I know, say 25 plus years, there was a program where people could build homes and rent to own. So why couldn't they do that now? We talked about, ladies mentioned with regards to ditches and sidewalks. Ian mentioned with regards to paving Coal Harbor. Been through Coal Harbor Road, sidewalks from Coal Harbor redone, and they've sidewalks have been torn up and done again over decades. We have not had a sidewalk one in the Preston's area. Okay? We talked about, somebody mentioned they mentioned about the ditches. All you got to do is walk over the driveway right here, when you leave this building, street right there, and you look and see the ditches. I live in Mexico. You walk and you'll see how the ditches have, the lady mentioned, trees growing up. My wife and I, prior to all the construction, used to walk around, like they go and come down the street, and we'd have to walk over in the middle road to avoid the trees. Unless the cars come on, you have to basically stop in your tracks. So that's how long, and these trees don't grow up overnight. I talked to a couple ladies yesterday, one from Halifax Water, one from HRN. Halifax Water, if you've got a water problem, they deal with it. If you've got a tree issue, HRN deals with it. I would say, and I know the lady told me from Halifax Water, 2022, and I called and I told them I had culvert issue. Right over here, as I said, the water comes from that ball field, went down here, and just prior to they had the election for the representative for the Preston area, Twilight Rose Point, and I think it was a serious one, there'd be flood, whatnot, all that gravel goes down. Anybody who lives on Brookshire Drive, you know what I'm talking about. And as I say, I know I got a call with there. Halifax Water came out, they looked at it, told me about $3,000 for me to have it replaced. All they could do is come like 6 feet off from the pavement. I told them I could do that, I could do that. Well, it's got to meet their approval. We'll do that. But if you want to know about the ditches, you say you want to wear that, you want to know about the ditches not being clean, just walk up the first drive over there. You'll see what's done. Yeah.
Quick, because maybe this is the last question, because mindful of folks' time, so maybe last question, and then we'll give a picture with the council candidates, and then after that, if you have other questions or other thoughts, you can talk to them on the side as well. So please, you have the floor for the question.
Yes, I'm from the community in Lakeland, John and Riley Bishop. My question is, you promised. So many broken promises. As my brother was asking about building on his own property, having roads put in. If that's going to happen, you say it's coming, read between the lines, read the fine print, because in 5 years, trust me, they'll come and say it belongs to them. They will take your land like they've been taken from us for years. I'm tired of the promises. Whoever gets in, please, for once, do what you are supposed to do for our communities. Don't do lip service. It doesn't work anymore.
Okay, my questions are a little bit different than everybody's, so, and one of them is going to be very awkward, I think. But first of all, I'm just going to ask Trish a question, and it has to do about property taxes, like everybody else, but we pay almost $7,000 in property taxes. It's quite a bit of money. But I imagine that the HRM relies on these taxes to pay for many things, including infrastructure and etc. So I don't see how those taxes could be lowered at all, because you have to replace it with something else. So, Trish, I'm asking you just because you're on council now, everybody else can answer it as well, but what would you do? How could you do that? How could the city do this?
Lower taxes.
Mm-hmm. And replace that with other revenue.
No worries, Joe. I don't know if taxes can be lowered. With the cost of everything right now, honestly, it is, that would be an impossible feat. Now, Joe was saying about the assessment of the property valuation services. That would be a petition to, like, only the province can dictate anything to the assessment folks. That's above the municipality's head completely. But the assessments have gone up so much because of our real estate boom since COVID. It's been unprecedented. So I mean, the prices are very, very high. And people who are buying homes because the cap's removed, right? When you buy a new home, their taxes that they're paying on these new homes are incredibly high, like very, very high, to the point that many people are thinking, we can't afford our taxes, we can't stay in the house. So I don't know if it's possible to lower the taxes, quite honestly, because the price of everything is exorbitantly high.
Okay. And as I said, I do have one question that's very sensitive. So, I'm not familiar with what kind of influence you have as a counselor with respect to school policies. Do you have any?
That's provincial.
Okay.
HSE, yeah. We have a contact. So when I have concerns, I share with the contact I have, the head, and then the MLA of the city.
Okay, all right.
So, yeah.
So, since I don't have that next question, I'm going to ask one more. What do you think of, and I have to look at my phone because it was my son-in-law who sent me this question. What do you support the subway light rail system that is proposed? And this is a question for everybody.
I know the HRM looked at this in Tim Outfit. He's the counselor, the outgoing counselor of District 16. He tried very hard to get light rail to be an option for transportation in HRM, and CN refused. So there's a lot of variables that are outside of HRM's control. If CN refuses to share their lines with HRM for rail, then there's not much HRM can do. So I know that this is being talked about again. So it's been years since this has been tried. So hey, we desperately need different ideas, and it's good to think outside of the box and look at all alternatives. We desperately need transportation ideas for folks, and transit ideas, and rail, and whatever. So I'm all for let's try again. Anything can happen.
If it can be efficient and it's cost effective, yeah, why not? Right? We have infrastructure issues, right? I mean, we have buses that Mount Portland Street are half full. Actually, not even half, but like 10% full. We're spending a ton of money on that. So you talk about property taxes, right? So if you don't want them to go up, we have to be more efficient, and we have to really take a look at what we're spending money on, what's really important. So obviously, infrastructure is huge, and how we get people from point A to point B, right? And if the trade, if you put that in place, and you have enough people that have trust in it that will take it and make it affordable and pay for itself, then yeah, that's viable, right? Same with buses. If you want to force people to take buses, you need to make sure people take a bus and get to their work or to their daycare or their sports as fast as you can do it in the car, or they won't do it. But that's the reality. I'm not taking a bus, but I'm going to take a bus if I can take my car and go twice as fast, right? So all these transit options, they're great. Unless they're efficient, you can put people that work. No one will choose them, right? So we have to be more efficient for money, the money that we need to, so the property taxes don't go up. If not, then they'll have to be up, right? So just prioritization.
We also have to advocate for the people, because for years, we had a counselor in this area who did nothing. And this is the reason why we are where we are. For 400 years, no one's talking about the 400 years that we were put here and we weren't supposed to survive, but we survived. But yet we're still dealing with the issues that should have been dealt with years ago. So here we are trying to make up for the next generation, whether it's our grandchildren or our children. We don't want to see these communities, big cities, end up coming back. They can't build a house because we've had property stolen, and that's basically what it has been. And yet you have the provincial province, putting all this money into the land titles initiative, and they're supposed to be giving all this money back to the people whose land they sold, and nothing has happened. But at HRM, they took the boundary, and when people were saying about years ago, no one was listening. So now it's coming to fruition, or whatever that word is about this say, it's all coming back, and it's coming back now. So whoever gets into office, I'm going to let you know, I'm going to hold you to the task, and I'm going to hold you accountable. Because this shit at some point has to stop, because we go through this every 4 years, and for how many years that David Pensky was in here, he grinned, he came to parties, he came to celebrations, and did nothing. But yet, when I called and asked him to put calming strips on Upper Governor Street, and they had those big dump trucks going down there speeding in the summer, we don't have a whole lot of kids, but the kids we do have to care about. And he told me that they had to go to HRM and they passed the buck. And here it is, they've got all this construction on the number 7 highway in the morning. I go to work and have to sit there at the bottom of Upper Governor Street for 15 minutes in order to get on the number 7. I feel like, what the hell is the way? I'm trying to get to work here at work. Like, it's not, it's got to stop at some point. So whoever gets in, do your job. I don't want no lip service. It's not about a paycheck. We pay taxes, we give you guys our money, and we give you our issues to be dealt with. So that's all I'm saying. Deal with the issues as they're presented. There's a whole lot of issues that everyone talks about, and yes, they're all the same issues because we've been struggling for, like I said, how many years that David Penske's been in office. Now I'm going to go down there to District 2 and file back.
I just have one little concern.
We're very tight.
I know, I'll be really quick. We talked about the sidewalks on the number 7. I used right by the daycare center. The lady said how much taxes she paid. And they talk about the water drainage that taxes that we pay. Well, my ditch never got cleaned up. I live right by the daycare center, so they cut off what they were doing right by the daycare center. So if that water is flowing through them pipes, where do it go after it hits the cap in that drainage? My land, my ditch is right there. And I paid the water drain tax twice now. And so we're paying for tax salary that we don't even pay. And so, and another one other point about that, I looked at the daycare center. We have all these little kids running around in the playground while they were doing the construction. Had all that dust, and here these little kids breathing that in. I wonder if that was in another community, would they have done that? I looked out my window and I see all these little kids and the teachers at the daycare center out there in that playground while you guys are drilling and banging and doing all this noise. How could these little kids have a restful place in the daycare center? And that should have been something that area should have been done on the weekend, not when the daycare center was open.
So with that, I want everyone to give a round of applause to our candidates. I would like to give a round of applause to you all, the community. So we recorded this, and we're going to post it online so you can share it for anyone who missed it. But enjoy your evening, and have a great rest of the week.